Okay, we should be live here as I am checking out a few additional things. Make sure should be live here. Okay, up and running. Yes, we are. Uh, me and one other person, it appears. Okay. Well, I estimated 2:15 to start the show. Looks like maybe they went to the running clock in the second half just to make me accurate. Kind of wish they'd stuck with the regular clock. Didn't get to see as much as I would have liked. But they really, we knew they weren't going to be tackling the quarterback, but, they really weren't hitting running backs or receivers pretty much at all. So, made it harder to judge things and kind of what did we see, what didn't we see. Some of what I had on my hope to see list would not show up because, well, you can't ask for a big hit from the defensive backfield when they're not allowed to hit. However, some of the key things deal with Green and Marchiol, and Garrett Green was sharp on all but one short to intermediate pass. There was one he threw short, but the others were nice and crisp, had the touch when they needed. There were several swing passes, which is something he's had lots of trouble with, and he was on. So that was the number one thing I wanted to see from him, and we saw it. Marchiol, I had happy feet on the first play, but overall, I think he did show the improvement the coaches were talking about. He was making decisions that were both faster and more patient. He had the confidence, he had the crispness. He missed on a couple of passes. Everybody does. I'm not real worried about that. But there were definitely some very nice, sharp passes in there. Well, Mark, I can't say anybody surprised me. Saw mostly what we expected. Players, when given the opportunity, did well. Clay Ash started at running back, which was a bit of a surprise. I don't think it's significant, but I like the way he runs. Fast decisions, good vision, good cuts. Now, a couple of times he had more of a crease there than you might want to see if you're favoring the defense, but some of that was also because the linebackers weren't playing full speed. Ash would have been a surprise if we hadn't already heard about him from the coaches and players. But it does look like he has a shot at, I don't know if he'll play as a running back, but definitely looks to help the team. Judah Price also played well when he dropped one pass, but again he was hitting the hole. He was finding the right spot. Had one or two that might have been long runs, hard to judge, but was happy with him. Jalen Anderson, he didn't get a lot of opportunities. Nobody really got a lot of opportunities, but Anderson was sharper than what I've seen in the past. In the past, he seemed to be either big run or nothing. And he was making, the good decisions, good footwork. He was getting those, 5, 6, 8 yard runs that are really the critical ones. Everybody was thrilled when he had the 2 long touchdowns against Oklahoma State a couple of years ago, but those are nice, but they don't prove a running back. It's the play to play to play that proves what a running back really has. And we did see that more from Anderson today. The real question after the game is who is going to hit the portal here in the next couple of days, and I don't know. I think Dudley got his name called once, but I suspect he'll hit the portal. Wickstrom, no, I don't know if he was in. It was hard to judge unless somebody got a pass or was mentioned by the announcers, but Wickstrom would be one we could certainly afford to lose. Dixon made a couple of nice catches. Again, without being able to go back and rewind and review, you can't judge the blocking. And well, for that matter, you can't really judge the defense that well because you don't get to see all that was happening. Now, I asked for an interception. We got 3. Well, 4 if you count the last pass, but interception by Trotter was a sweet piece of work. I don't think Green should have fallen for it, but it was good work. Trotter just stayed in his spot in the middle until the last minute, then made a sharp, confident break on the ball and got in the way and made a nice clean catch. He showed good hands. So, that was, of course, the problem last year was dropping too many of the interception possibilities. And the interception by Garnes, I want to go back and take another look at. I'm not sure how much of it was a good play by Garnes, miscommunication between receiver and quarterback, or a bad pass. Interception on the 2-point play, to me, was a bad pass and a bad decision by Marchiol. If you're going to throw that ball, it has to be out in front of the receiver, and it was not really behind the receiver, but on the receiver, which means coverage has the angle. And, well, the good news is, took advantage of it. Hollis made a couple of pretty bad plays. It was probably just one of those days. Now, on one of them, Fox ran a really nice route, but it shouldn't have caught Hollis by surprise, and Fox got pretty widely open, and we had a pass right on the money. That's the thing. If you look at Green, Marchiol, and Christ, they were on the mark almost every time. We had some very nice passing. And some of that was in really tight windows. It's the kind of thing where, if you complete it, you say, wow, what a pass. If the defender is 6 inches farther along, you say, wow, they never should have thrown it. But we had some good stuff. Scott Keene actually was the one who was off. He threw a couple of really wobbly ones, even when he wasn't pressured. But, I don't know. I think maybe just a little head game with Boyle hitting the portal, and Keene maybe just kind of wondering where he really is now. If he, number 3, but Khalil Wilkins coming in the fall. Now, of course, with the roster, they had guys mixed on the different sides. It was not ones against ones or ones against twos, anything like that. Jarrell Williams got a good bit of opportunity on the gold team. Some nice plays. One really sweet catch. One of those that Green just snuck past. Don't remember. I think maybe it was Boyce. And Boyce got a nice hit on Williams, but Williams held to the ball as he went to the ground. So Williams looking good, maybe earning himself a good shot at playing time that will keep him on the team. If he does decide to hit the portal, he did create some good film. I forgot to check some of the comments here. Yeah, yes, I just mentioned Boyce. Jennings got mentioned several times by the announcers. He definitely had some good plays. We're going to see him in the fall, and not just on special teams. I think you do have to be excited about Jennings. Wanted to be excited about him because we kept hearing good things, but now we have seen it. Of course, spring game conditions a bit deceptive, but yeah, I mean, I think Jennings. Well, as far as I could tell, all of the freshmen who came in early. Now I don't know, but yeah, I think the ones who came in early were showing some good stuff. Kinsler got into the backfield. Gabriel got mentioned a time or two. And Jennings and Boyce. Not sure about Joseph in the defensive backfield. I don't remember hearing his name mentioned. I didn't spot him on any particular plays, but I don't know how much he was getting targeted either. I'm gonna have to. I don't know if we'll get play counts or snap counts or not. I'm not sure Burks played today. Wilson was in early, I know, because he got mentioned a couple of times. One encounter with Ash, it was a good shot from Wilson, a good solid tackle. The flip side of that is that Ash did slip off of it enough to fall forward to get an extra yard. And that kind of play can be important. Of course, I don't know if it was the influence of the honorary coaches or not. The gold team did try at least 2 fancy plays, neither of which worked. Meanwhile, the blue team did not try any that I recall. Now the first, had a reverse to Evans, then trying to pass to Green, similar to a play from last year's game, but Green did not pick up the ball well and kind of paused, and by the time he found it, he came up about a foot short. He was open. Could have been fun. Oh, well. Let's see. Yeah, Josh, you could be right. I think when you have the defense told to play soft on tackling, it does affect coverage as well. There's just a lot that psychologically you're not on, you can't do. I'm not really worried about Hollis. I would have rather seen good plays than bad, but it doesn't particularly worry me. Now, on some of the chat boards, the haters are hating big. I mean, there were guys who were upset, as soon as the game started, but those are the ones who are going to be upset regardless what happens. you've already got people talking won't win 5 games, blah, blah, blah. But no, I'm not worried about any of that. And for that matter, if Hollis was a bust, I think we're still covered in the defensive backfield. So I'm doubly not worried. Yeah, with the both centers, the only thing I can clearly say is that the snaps were clean. I'm not sure if this, I assume we'll be able to rewatch this at some point. I won't cancel my ESPN Plus subscription too quickly. I do know on first or second run by Green up the middle, quarterback keeper, quarterback draw, Yates was way downfield with Green running right behind him. Green had himself a nice shield downfield, 2 or 3 guys wide, and the officials blew the whistle anyway. I think that one did annoy Green. It annoyed me. But there was talk about Yates not being able to get to the second level as well as Frazier. Well, he did it that time. They say he was past the second level. So I did not see anything that bothered me. I will do a lot of rewinding when I rewatch the game and take a look at some of the actual blocking. We got some guys coming off the edge. I don't think we had much in the way of pressure up the middle, which would suggest, center and guards were sound on both, blue and gold. But that's, again, something that will require a closer look and lots of rewinding. We did have touchdown to Clement. Clement to Garnes, covered by Garnes. Coverage was good, not real aggressive. Garnes might have done more in a real game, but the pass was perfect. Clement used his body well, so that was a sweet play. Good coverage by defense, not perfect, but good. But perfect play by receiver and quarterback, and that you gotta like. Actually, I think that was the play. Markiel took the snap. He paused, then threw. And it was the right play. He was, Markiel was completely under control on that play. And it resulted in a touchdown. That is not a play he would have made last year. That may be one of the most important plays to me in the whole game. Even if the pass had been, a little off, it would be significant because Markiel showed what we'd been hearing. He looks like a D1 quarterback who is ready to come in and run the entire playbook. And that does include run the playbook. He took off a couple of times. He's not as fast as Green, and we all know that, but he is a very good runner, and teams will not be able to change their defense much when Markiel comes in. Nice to see Dante Stills at the game. Glad we've got guys coming back. It's always a good sign. Now, of course, that was also at the point, we got the introduction of the new uniforms. I know that's a big deal for a lot of people. I don't much care, but they are nice looking. I like that they called them the Neyland stripes on the shoulders. Anything that gives a nod to Neyland, I approve of. So, of course, in the long run, how well people like the uniforms is going to come down to how well we play when we're wearing a particular uniform. Now, just kind of going through my notes here, there were multiple passes to Davis. I saw, I think, 2 or 3 catches by Davis, a little bit of run afterwards. That's new. He looked better. It's something he's been working on. He is not going to become our number 1 pass receiving tight end, but it does mean there are more options when he's in the game. And a couple of times last year, some fairly critical plays went in the toilet because he didn't make the catch. So I think we're a step up in quarterbacks. We're a step up at tight end. Let's see. I did not see a lot with Gallagher. I had hoped to see more. He was definitely in and moving around in positions. The one pass that I saw in his direction was the 2-point attempt that got intercepted. So again, that was not really much downfield, but it may also be one of the things that they just didn't want to show. They did not show anything significantly new. The trick plays are not things that they are working on for the season necessarily. The little trick defense with 3 or 4 defenders stacked in a line above the center, I think was just a little game they were playing. So that, again, that's not anything that I'm going to make a big deal out of. There was some, Gallagher might or might not have been in for a play on defense. Again, I don't consider that a story. It's just an experiment. Nothing will ever likely come of it unless it's absolutely necessary. I do expect other people to make a story of it. I won't be one. Announcer did mention interesting little tidbit that Israel Boyce prefers to go by Jacob. And I do wonder if that has always been his preference or if it's a new preference. And that's all I'll really say on that point. Yeah, Don, Penn State will tell us a lot. I think the Kansas game will be the real key. We didn't play them last year. Year before last, they kicked some ways they kicked our butts, other ways we kicked our own. We could have won the game, but we did not play well. Kansas is now one of the favorite children of the conference, and everybody likes to pick them to do well. So I would like to kick their butt. If I had to pick between winning against Penn State or beating Kansas, I'd rather beat Kansas, as a matter of fact. Of course, it is a conference game, so a little more important. But I want to win all of them. I want to win each and every game. I want an undefeated season. I don't expect an undefeated season. But I don't think I ever went into a year of any sport that I didn't want an undefeated season. I think we're supposed to want undefeated seasons. The team is supposed to want undefeated seasons. Now I will also note a number of times quarterbacks had to, scramble, throw the ball away, go out of bounds because the coverage downfield was good and stayed good. So It's not, the defense was not getting picked apart on every play. They didn't. I can only think of 2, maybe 3 times they tried to go 20 yards or so downfield. So they weren't really trying for big plays. And we know Green can hit the big, pass. So it was more important to see those patient, find the open receiver, whether it's wide open or a small spot, and get that 5 yards, 10 yards. That is more important overall. Yeah, we didn't see as much with Bray as I had hoped. He had a couple of nice catches. Wasn't really sure that they were quite in sync at this point. Quick note on we'll call it halftime festivities. Iron Man we had 5 of them: Green, Fox, Brinkman, Milam, and Martin. Kind of interesting when you get a quarterback, a receiver, and a long snapper getting Iron Man awards. I like it. And we had heard particularly that Fox had really redefined his body. I think we saw it today. He made all of the catches we would expect. Now, the one really sweet touchdown catch late, good thing we didn't have replay. I think he was pretty clearly out of bounds, but it was a terrific catch. Get kind of scared to see him land on his back because, you just got to hope that last year's injury is really, really fully healed and not going to be an issue. Now, second half, because, we had the running clock, so we did not see very many plays. Green was, Green and then Chris after him. Second half, Ray got all the attention. He also got open, and he made the catches. I'm not sure. We had a dropped pass by Price. Green should have caught the ball to him, but you don't necessarily call it a drop because he didn't really get his hands on it. But overall, receivers made the plays. So I feel good there. I did not keep track of everyone who caught the ball, but some of the key guys did, and that would include, Williams, Bray, Ray, and Clement all had good catches. Again, didn't see anything from Gallagher. That's not a big deal. And I'm probably forgetting a receiver. Had some catches by the tight ends. And again, I think the things we needed to see, we saw. They were having an interview with Pat White and Garrett Green after the game that was sounding interesting, and the mic went out. I don't know whose mic it was, but we had a system failure. And I want to say, once again, Pat White is pure class. He was, giving all the attention to the team and the program, the players, and he's not an eloquent speaker by any means. He's not going to have his own show, but what he says, I really, really like. And I think he learned some from his time in the NFL that obviously did not go as he had hoped. I think he has, I suspect he's a good father, a good person, and that may help make him a good coach. And I'm not making a push for him to come back to West Virginia. That would be entirely between him and the coaching staff when or if anything opened. And if he want, hey, I want him to work his way up in the NFL. That's where he's at. I want him to do well. And I'm glad to see that he seems to have things together. That was really good. Timothy, I haven't been putting things up here on the screen. Completely forgot about that. I apologize. 9-3, 10-2. I think those are the most likely. I think 10. I think there's a very, very good chance at 10 wins for the regular season, not counting, conference championship or a playoff spot. But I consider 9 to really be the floor. I do not expect less than 9. And I think a lot of them will be very strong wins. Even if they're close games, I think they'll be strong wins with good performances in all 3 aspects of the game. And of course, that you don't want a moral victory and lose the game. But I would rather, if we're going to lose a game, I want to see us play well. I don't want the crap like Oklahoma State where we lose on mistakes, on really just mistakes that shouldn't happen, bad kind of mistakes. And I don't want to see us just play generally badly like we did against Oklahoma. I don't think we will see things like that this year. And of course, if we hadn't had the stupid mistakes last year, it would have been at least 10 wins, maybe 11, which I think might have put us into a ball game over our heads, but yeah, still would have wanted those wins. Now, I do think we will see some significant movement in the portal, both in terms of who announces that they're leaving. They've got 4 days, I think, to get their paperwork in. We can have a day or two delay after that unless they go on Twitter. But so say by May 3rd, we'll probably know everybody who is leaving this year unless something really weird happens. Then if we have, enough guys leave to open up scholarships, we will see some inward movement in the portal. I suspect we have a couple of guys sitting out there waiting to make their decisions based on what happens. I suspect the coaches have either a hint or knowledge of who's leaving, and they have probably told 1 or 2 transfers that they fully expect to have a spot for them. So we'll see that, like I say, I think we'll see out and in fairly quickly here in the next 5 to 7 days. And we also should see some more activity in the basketball front. That is looking good. I fully expected it to. Yes, we definitely still need at least one more forward, starting quality forward, and a center would kind of be nice to have. I'm not worried, but it would be nice. I think we'll see some of that happening in the next week as well. Oops. Oh, yeah. Beat Penn. Yeah. Yeah, that's a who in the Big 12 can we not beat? And, If Oklahoma and Texas were still in the Big 12, they would be likely favorites. But I think we'd be able to go head-to-head with them. I think we'd beat, at least one of them. People are predicting Arizona goes big in the Big 12. I'm not convinced. I think they have a max of 9 wins. Some people are predicting Colorado will be big. If Colorado gets lucky, they'll win 7. I have concluded that Sanders coaches as if he's playing draw poker and thinks that if he keeps taking 3 or 4 cards every time, he'll eventually get a good hand. He does not coach players up. He wants to draw aces and kings. He does not take a 10 or a jack and turn them into, a higher card. And in my book, that means he's not a coach. He's just a player. And yet he will have good years when he gets the exact right players. Other years, we'll see the same thing as under Holgerson. Some good games, fades down the stretch, and if it's not a critical game, they don't show up. I do not think his teams will have heart or grit. And when you need those in a game, they'll lose. We'll win. Now, we don't play Colorado this year. Wish we did. Think we beat the crap out of them. Yeah. Now, let me go back one here. Oklahoma or Kansas. That's the thing they're kind of playing up with the Big 12 and need to play up a whole lot more is any given week. There is not a team in that conference that can't beat you any given week. And I think a couple of the teams will likely suck this year. Houston, might be one. I think they'll get better, but this year could be rough on them. But top to bottom, 16 teams, and number 16 could beat number 1 any given week. And I mean legitimately, not just the kind of fluke you get when an FBS team, ends up beating a top 10 preseason favorite, first game of the season or something like that. Every week we're going to have to be on point. We can't take anybody, for granted. But I think we can beat anybody and everybody in the conference. But anybody and everybody in the conference can beat us. I think we have the odds in our favor. I think we have the talent and the coaching in our favor. That's thing is, we don't know how many of those players Sanders said just leave, how many left because they didn't like the way things were going. But with that many players leaving, when you just went through a season where you supposedly brought in a crap load of high quality players, like I said, if I just don't like the way it's being done. That's of course, 10-2, big season. If we, and I don't much care who we lose those 2 games to. doesn't necessarily, it makes a difference in the rankings, but loss is a loss. We don't want to lose to Pitt. I know that. But I don't want to lose more games, period, to anybody. Yeah, UCF, I think, I mean, again, it's going to just be one of the, they had a lot of hard luck last year. Probably could have won 2, maybe 3 more games than they did. But, yeah, just how it comes together. They haven't had to play against this level of competition week in, week out. So we have to see if they can. They've always been a great upset team. But, how do they play the grind game? When you have one of those games with the extra bruises and you got to go back out the next week, how sharp are you? Or if you have one of those games, everything goes your way, how sharp are you next week? Yeah, and that's the thing. You cannot have a down game. This is not a conference where you play, off and win. Not very often. It's going to be a conference where you have to be playing a good game. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, that's a fair assessment, but again, the defense was clearly being told no big hits. They weren't even coming up and smacking the running backs. It was pretty much just get close enough to get the ref to blow the whistle. And some of the runs maybe went a little farther than they would have under those conditions. Other times, the running back wasn't given a chance to, take the hit and bounce off. So we don't know. I'm not worried. And again, some of the times when the coverage was good enough to make the quarterback throw the ball away, we did not have the multiple cameras to show us just what was going on. So I mean, we can never judge much by the spring game. I don't think we can judge the defense at all this game. I think we can say quarterbacks were confident, patient, and sharp. Receivers caught the ball when they were supposed to. That's running backs were decisive. They hit the right hole. Again, that's most of what I ask. They didn't give White many opportunities. And I don't mean number of touches so much as, he really didn't seem to get the holes that the other players did. And maybe just because defense was keying on him more. But I don't think they necessarily wanted White to look too good. They didn't want teams, you want teams to still think maybe last year was a fluke. So they're not going to really, prepare. Let's see, what else is... Yeah, that's as I recall, there was more hitting from the defense last year. I was pretty much just the quarterbacks who were off limits. I don't know if they made that decision this year because a little more concern about injuries after injuries have really hurt us for 3 years in a row, especially defense. And of course, we are still, I mean, we're thin as all get out at running back, and 2 scholarship running backs currently healthy. Donaldson healthy enough if it were game week, but not going to put him in the spring game. And Ash and Price looked good in the spring game. Are they ready for the hard stuff? Probably not. And we've got 2 really top running backs coming in. Will they be ready, against Penn State? It seems real unlikely. And if the season goes well, neither of those guys will get a lot of playing time this year. We would like to see them redshirt because the other running backs are healthy and doing well. But you do not want to get another running back injured in the spring game. So I guess that may be why the hitting was particularly light this year. Okay, talk is Pitt. That is a question I would like to hear your answer to as well. We're all in here, all ears, all curious. Let's see here. Yeah, I think didn't show a lot is what you mean. Nate Yarnell and the Bama QB can play. Okay. So it sounds like you have filled some key needs. Now I know we had the one guy under the transfer portal, and the media was saying, this whole deal about Pitt can't win. I did not follow up on that story, so I don't know, what that deal was all about. If you have more information, I'd be curious to hear it. What had him so annoyed? I didn't even see what it was that was making the media make a big deal out of that. But I am not a Pitt hater. I do not use swear words when I talk about Pitt. I would rather see West Virginia beat the crap out of Pitt. But after that, your season is... Now, let me make one thing clear. I want Pitt and Louisville and Virginia Tech in the same conference with West Virginia. I really think those are 3 teams we should play every season. If you want to throw Cincinnati into that mix, we were developing a good rivalry with them in the Big East because Cincinnati was having some really good years. People put the Big East down in that time period, but each year there were 3 or 4 teams who were really good. They tended to be varying. Rutgers had some very good years. USF, some very good years. And if you compare bowl winning percentages, Big East was as good as the Big 12 in that time period. Aha! So, but I would like to play Pitt and not have to schedule it as an out-of-conference game. I do expect the ACC to go in the toilet, and I expect SEC and Big Ten to nab the top 2 to 4 teams, and most of the rest will end up in the Big 12. What will happen overall, I do not know. Exactly when it will happen, I do not know. Probably within the next couple of years. Miami, I don't want to hate a program. But if I'm going to hate a program, it's likely to be Miami. I don't know how much dirty stuff may have been going on with some of the transfers. I think some. Of course, they had the reputation as a dirty team for many years. And they've just never played well enough since then to make me care. I wouldn't mind if Miami's in the Big 12, but they're not important to me. I don't really think of them as a rival. It was fun when we beat them because they were usually ranked, and if we were ranked, they were ranked higher. But Miami can go wherever they want. If they just want to go independent and form a conference with Notre Dame, that's fine with me. Let the two of them play each other every week, and I wouldn't care. But yeah, I don't know about going over 20 teams, so it would be a question of what four we pick. But if it was necessary to go over 20 teams to get the right teams and to keep some good programs from going under, then I think we should take them. There's nobody, that I would say, oh, for heaven's sake, just let them be. Okay, so yeah, just something went wrong, shall we say. There was a disagreement, and he did not take it well. And I have not followed Pitt, so I have no idea if he had legitimate grievances. I hope not. I'd rather have one player who gets mad when it's not justified rather than having a program that justifies a player getting mad. So let us just hope that he's the one who has a lesson to learn. Yeah, now, of course, had the receiver from Penn State, and I can never remember his name, but everybody was, oh my gosh, West Virginia's contacted him, we're going to get him, and, Lambert Smith, that's, and of course, West Virginia never made an offer. They just kind of checked. And he probably said he wasn't interested because I think he's out for big NIL money. And Penn State fans say, second half of the season, he vanished. And how much was on him, how much was on the coaches, don't know. But he is not, the next coming. So you don't want the negative players. Let them end up, someplace else. Let them go to a coach who doesn't care about chemistry, who thinks that he can handle anything. I should have mentioned that, very early on. Who would have thought that the pundits had it right for once? They're frequently picking Frazier to go number, 51 or 56? I think 51 to the Steelers, and he did. Although I think late some were changing and saying going 56 to the Cowboys. I'm much happier that he went to the Steelers. Mike Tomlin is far and away my favorite NFL coach. And I have to remind myself of that because I've kind of NFL has fallen out of favor with me overall. But Mike Tomlin is one of those guys who does it not only well, but who does it right. So I want Tomlin to do well every year. I think Frazier is in good hands, and I think the Steelers are in good hands. Yeah, and hasn't that, there are forces out there that are convincing these players that they're worth a ton and who telling them that this other guy is getting more, whether they are or not. It's the same thing that has happened in the NFL, where you get, quarterbacks who have it in their contract that they have to be the highest paid quarterback in the league. And if I were a team owner, I would be telling every player, you want that in your contract, you don't get a contract. We have to find ways. The money, money is part of our society. We do not work well without it, but it has to be perspective. We have to have, again, the game has to be more important than the money. The team has to be more important than the money. And there is such a thing as enough. I have never particularly experienced it myself, but I have heard rumors that it is possible to have enough money. Yeah, actually, I was a Green Bay fan for many, many years. Slipped the last few, and partly that was a quarterback who turned out to be egotistical and not real bright. So I need to look at them some more. I want to like pro football, but it's getting hard. Yeah, now I actually grew up a Browns fan. And then Modell pulled his crap. Basically, hey, build me a stadium or I leave. The city says, fine, we'll build you a stadium. He leaves anyway. And the team has not been the Browns ever since they came back. They are not they're not the same team. They're not the same mentality. The ownership is not a Cleveland mentality ownership. And they are much like the Mountaineers. They need to have a team that fits the city. But they do not have owners who understand that. So they don't have coaches. They don't have players who understand that. And I won't be a Browns fan again if they get it back. Did bounce a little between the Bengals. And, have been a Steelers fan much of the time. Which is, of course, having been a Browns fan is not generally approved of. Yeah, I try to tell myself that I don't have a good reason to hate the Cowboys. I don't like the owner. Haven't liked a couple of the coaches they've had. Really did not like the way they got rid of Coach Landry. May have been his time to go, but they did not handle it well. And I have not liked the Cowboys since then. They did have, now was it Emmitt Smith who played within one of the playoff games with a bad arm. I can't remember. Now I loved that. That was great. But Dallas has become the home of overrated quarterbacks. Tony Romo especially. Romo lost them multiple games when it mattered. All right, Talk is Pitt. Thanks for dropping by. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Hey, I do not object to subscriptions from Pitt fans, Dallas fans. There are probably people out there I'd rather not have subscribed, but that's more a personal thing, not just what team they root for. Hey, we've been having some conversations here between mostly Timothy and Talk is Pitt. Who else is out there? It says we've got 13 people watching at the moment. Is there a question that I have missed that you would like to get in there? Let us know what you thought of the game. What stood out for better or worse? Do you have your predictions for next season, this season? I would ask about who's going to be the standout player for the season, but I don't think it's going to be players so much as team. I said someplace when they were talking about who would be the standout among returning defensive players. It's going to be the defense that's the standout. And I've mentioned this before. I will make it flat out a prediction. West Virginia is going to have one of the top 3 defenses in the Big 12. It is going to be an active defense. It is going to be, they're going to produce turnovers. They're going to have lots of big hits. I know they weren't showing it in the spring game. We talked about that. But I predict that this defense is going to be possibly the best in 20 years. I don't know when the last great Castile defense was. He had a couple of top 10 defenses. Whenever that year was, we may beat it. And I really am. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. If I get depressed, I'm just going to have to check how many days it is till the Penn State game and give myself a reason to get up in the morning. All right. Well, I don't have... Oh, I did not mention... I'm not sure the pronunciation. The Nicolich Award went to Avery Wilcox for Best Walk-On. And the announcers obviously knew that was coming because they were immediately ready to say that it was the first time since the award started that you had 2 members of the same family win the award. Wilcox's father won it back, I think they said, in the 90s as a linebacker. Now Wilcox has won it. And he's been one of those guys who's kind of been on the edge of big things happening, maybe getting some more defensive playing time. Less likely this year with the guys we've brought in, but he should be a big factor on special teams. And, of course, that is something we didn't see in the game, special teams. So I'm, would have liked to have seen who was playing, but, of course, some of that hasn't been decided. So, okay, we've been on here for about an hour. Still got 14 people watching. I kind of hate to leave. But I have run my route on what I had to say. said a number of things I didn't know were coming. One quick note. Here I lost it. Where was it? I think, Koshan was at about a 54-yard field goal he made. Okay, yeah, there we go. So we had heard that he was hitting the long ones well. And heaven knows he does not look like a kicker unless you're watching pro football from the 60s. You had a lot of those builds as kickers. But, hey, looks don't count. It's getting it between the uprights that matters over the goalpost. And he did that. So we are in good shape with the field goal team anyway. Well, we are not getting additional questions, so I'd like to thank everybody for dropping in. Please subscribe if you haven't done so. And if you are watching the rerun on YouTube, make some comments there. Click the thumbs up button, click the share button, tell your friends. We've got a long way to go to get to 1,000 subscribers, and as the Smokey and the Bandit got a long way to go and a short time to get there. I appreciate your help. Talk to you later, as soon as we probably see what's happening in the portal. So long, guys.